The growing holiday mood around the country has just come to a sudden, horrifying end. Dozens of asylum seekers are missing and feared drowned after their boat was smashed on rocks off Christmas Island. Locals and customs crews battled huge swells as they desperately worked to rescue survivors. It's first and foremost a humanitarian disaster, but has it also opened the way for more heated debate on asylum policy? In a moment, I'll be talking to Acting Prime Minister Wayne Swan. But first, I spoke a short while ago to documentary filmmaker Philip Stewart, who witnessed the tragedy. Philip Stewart, when did you first become aware that there was a disaster unfolding?
Well, firstly, we became aware of a really strong, pungent smell of diesel fuel in the air when we left our accommodation. And as we drove along towards the barracks on the lower slopes of Christmas Island, the smell actually increased. It became actually overpowering. And a colleague and I, my cameraman and director of photography, decided something's happened. A boat obviously has come ashore. It's crashed into the cliffs. And when we turned round the corner, we saw all the vehicles on the side of the road and realised, put two and two together, something's happened, there's a tragedy here. And we went down and had a look, and this was about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I believe that the tragedy had already been unfolding for nearly an hour. That we saw the remains of a vessel that had completely fragmented. There were thousands of pieces of flotsam and jetsam in the water, and a few bits of the boat hull left, floating, a wooden vessel, obviously. And there were 7 people that we could identify that were still alive, clinging to these bits of flotsam and jetsam, including a woman and a child. And out to sea, there was a large vessel with 2 smaller inflatable strike craft type vessels, these sort of high-speed rescue vessels, who were trying to get in to assist the last 7 people. I believe that they had already picked up a number of survivors before. But they couldn't get in because of the wave action. You've got sort of 11, 12-foot cliffs, limestone cliffs, and you have these sort of 4 or 5 metre waves hitting onto them, and the spray is just going straight up and over the tops of the cliffs and so on. So it gives massive spray zone. And it was just too dangerous. And there were local people there as well, throwing out ropes and life jackets to try and help wherever they could. To these 7 people. One chap, though, however, did jump off one of the bits of wood that he was sitting on and swam out to sea, away from the cliffs, and he was immediately picked up by one of the vessels and taken away. But unfortunately, the other 6 either were too scared or just couldn't swim, and they didn't leave, and they were just so close to the cliffs that when the waves hit the cliffs, they would bounce back. And of course, with that sort of turbulence, they were being knocked off into the water. The woman disappeared, the child disappeared, and one by one, the others disappeared as well. And we can only presume they drowned. We didn't see them. Everybody was there watching, trying to help. Were just so useless. They couldn't do a damn thing.
Clearly, it must have been a terrible feeling and so distressing to watch. Is there any hope for any of those people in the water, in your view?
The ones that we saw, I don't think so. No, I would say they more than likely have perished. The sea is incredibly rough. Even if you're an incredibly strong swimmer, to survive that, you would be extremely lucky.
Did it seem to you that the authorities got there quickly enough, or were they in the same situation as the rest of you because of the conditions? It was so difficult to help these people.
From what I witnessed, I think they did everything they possibly could. The trouble is, if they had come in any closer, they would have been tangled up in the flotsam and jetsam. And I'm talking about tons of bits of junk and rubbish in the water. If their propellers had got caught up in that, there would have been a second tragedy, a double tragedy there. There is anger on the island, though, and I think that's coming from people who feel that the political situation should never have allowed this to happen, and that it's a direct sort of insult on the people on Christmas Island to have to be subjected to such a terrible tragedy. And there is that anger there, but there's this incredible shock and numbness at the moment.
And part of the feeling of numbness that you say you have at the moment, I guess you heard some terrible things as well. Could you hear people trying to call for help?
Unfortunately, yes, there were people. They were screaming for help. Don't forget, there was really strong waves and wind, and the wind was blowing onshore. So of course, you got these plaintive cries of people wanting help and shouting for help, and there was nothing one could do. There were people around me, from tradies right through, to police and professional people around. And when the one chap swam away, there was a sort of shout of hooray, look, you've done it, well done, keep going. And he got help. They were happy, but at the same time there's the screams and shouts from people on shore watching the tragedies. The woman's thrown into the water, the child disappears. So it's all playing out at once. It's a short-lived triumph over this massive tragedy.
Philip Stewart, it's clearly been a terrible experience for you. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
No, thank you.